The cargo ship Starlight Runner moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge, watching the stars through the main window. His ship was not big or fancy, but it was his home. For 3 years he had carried supplies to human colonies in this part of the galaxy. "Captain, we're 2 hours from the jump point," said Lisa Kane from the pilot seat. She was a good pilot who had flown with Jake since the beginning. Her hands moved easily over the controls as she kept the ship on course. Jake nodded and looked at the cargo list on his screen. Medical supplies, food packages, and farming tools filled the ship's hold. All of it was going to New Terra, a small colony world that needed these things to survive. The colonists there were good people trying to build new lives far from Earth. "Any word from New Terra?" Jake asked Amy Sullivan, who worked the communications station. "They sent a message this morning," Amy replied. "Everything is ready for our arrival. They're excited about the medical supplies especially. Dr. Kim there says they really need them." Jake smiled. This was why he loved his job. They were not just moving cargo from one place to another. They were helping people live better lives. The Starlight Runner might not be a military ship, but it did important work. Pete Rodriguez came onto the bridge from the engine room. Oil stains covered his work clothes, and he wiped his hands on a dirty cloth. "Engines are running perfect, Captain. We'll make the jump to New Terra with no problems." "Good work, Pete," Jake said. Pete was the best engineer he had ever worked with. The man could fix anything and keep their old ship running like new. Dr. Sam Taylor walked onto the bridge carrying a cup of coffee. He was the ship's medical officer, though on a cargo ship there was not much medical work to do. Most of the time he helped with loading cargo and checking that medical supplies were stored correctly. "Coffee's fresh if anyone wants some," Sam said. "Chris is down in the galley making lunch." Chris Baker was their navigator, but like everyone else on the small ship, he did many different jobs. Today he was cooking. Tomorrow he might be helping Pete fix something in the engine room. Jake looked around at his crew and felt proud. 12 people worked on the Starlight Runner, and they were like family. They had traveled together through many star systems and seen amazing things. They had traded with alien species that looked nothing like humans, learned new languages, and made friends across the galaxy. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium had given them permits to travel through their space. The tall, thin Zephyrians were careful about business but fair in their deals. They liked that humans always kept their promises and paid their bills on time. Even the Vorthon Empire, known for not trusting outsiders, had allowed human ships to use their trade routes. The Vorthons were tough negotiators, but they respected humans who worked hard and spoke honestly. "Captain," Amy called out, "I'm getting something on sensors." Jake turned to look at her screen. "What do you see?" "Multiple ships just dropped out of warp space near us. They're big ships, Captain." Lisa's hands moved over her controls. "I see them too. 4 ships, all bigger than us. They're not broadcasting any identification signals." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Space was usually safe for cargo ships like his, but there were always dangers. Pirates sometimes attacked ships that looked easy to rob. "Can you tell what kind of ships they are?" Jake asked. Amy worked at her station for a moment. "I think they're Krillian ships, Captain. The design matches what I have in our database." Jake had heard of the Krillians but had never met any. They were known as a warrior race that controlled several star systems near human space. Stories said they were aggressive and did not like other species very much. "Are they responding to our signals?" Jake asked. "I've been trying to contact them since they appeared," Amy said. "No response yet." The 4 alien ships moved closer to the Starlight Runner. They were dark and angular, covered with weapon systems that Jake could see even from a distance. These were not cargo ships or exploration vessels. They were built for fighting. "Lisa, how far are we from the jump point?" Jake asked. "Still about 2 hours at normal speed. I could push the engines harder, but we might damage something," Pete finished. "Captain, if we're going to run, we need to decide now." Jake thought quickly. The Starlight Runner was not a fast ship, and it certainly was not armed for fighting. They had one small plasma cannon meant for clearing asteroids from their path, nothing more. If the Krillian ships wanted to stop them, there was little they could do. "Try contacting them again," Jake told Amy. "Tell them we're a peaceful cargo ship heading to New Terra. Ask if they need anything or if there's a problem." Amy sent the message and waited. Seconds passed with no answer. The Krillian ships continued moving closer. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "they're surrounding us." Jake looked at the tactical display. She was right. The 4 ships were positioning themselves around the Starlight Runner like hunters circling prey. This was not the behavior of ships that just wanted to talk. "All hands, this is the captain," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "We have 4 unknown ships nearby. Everyone stay calm and be ready for anything." Through the bridge windows, Jake could see the closest Krillian ship. It was twice the size of the Starlight Runner and covered with weapon ports. Whoever built it had designed it to frighten enemies. "Still no response to our messages," Amy reported. "But Captain, I'm detecting that they're charging their weapons." Jake's blood turned cold. "Are you sure?" "Energy readings are climbing on all 4 ships. Those are definitely weapon systems powering up." Pete moved toward the door. "I should get to the engine room." "If we need to run—" "Wait," Jake said. "Let me try talking to them directly." He opened a communication channel to all frequencies. "Krillian ships, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the human cargo vessel Starlight Runner. We are carrying medical supplies and food to a colony world. We mean no harm to anyone and request safe passage through this area." They waited for an answer. The only sound on the bridge was the quiet hum of the ship's systems and the beating of Jake's heart. Then Amy's console lit up with an incoming message. A harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking in heavily accented English. "Human ship, you fly in space that belongs to the strong. Weak races have no place here." Jake keyed the microphone. "We're just passing through. We have legal permits for this route and—" The voice cut him off. "Humans are soft. You make the galaxy weak with your talk of peace. Today you learn what happens to the weak." The communication ended. Jake stared at the radio in shock. He had expected demands for money or cargo, maybe threats to leave the area. He had not expected this. "Captain," Lisa said in a tight voice. "They're moving into attack formation." Jake realized with growing horror that the Krillians were not planning to rob them. They were planning to destroy them simply because they could. The first blast hit the Starlight Runner like a giant hammer. The whole ship shook and Jake was thrown against his chair. Emergency lights flashed red and alarms screamed throughout the vessel. "Shields are down to 60%, Lisa shouted over the noise. Her hands flew over the controls, trying to keep the ship stable as more energy blasts struck the hull. "Hull breach in cargo bay 2. Pete's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. "I'm sealing it off, but we're losing air fast." Jake gripped his chair as another blast rocked the ship. Through the main window, he could see the muzzle flashes from the Krillian weapons. The alien ships fired again and again, their dark hulls lit up by the discharge of their guns. "Amy, are you still broadcasting our position?" Jake called out. "Yes, Captain. Sending emergency signals on all frequencies." Amy's voice was tight with fear, but she kept working. "I'm telling everyone we're a civilian ship under attack." Dr. Sam Taylor ran onto the bridge, his medical bag in his hand. Blood covered his shirt. "Captain, I've got 3 wounded in the engine section. Burns and cuts from flying metal. I need to get them to the medical bay. Go," Jake told him. "Take whoever you need to help." The ship shuddered again as more weapons fire tore into the hull. Jake could hear metal groaning and twisting under the assault. The Starlight Runner was a cargo ship, built for carrying supplies, not for fighting. Her shields were meant to protect against space debris, not military weapons. "Captain," Chris Baker's voice came over the intercom from the galley. "The gravity generator in Section 3 just went out. Everything's floating around down here." Jake tried the radio again. "Krillian ships, we surrender. Stop firing. We're a civilian vessel with no weapons." The harsh voice came back immediately. "There is no surrender for the weak. Your kind pollutes the galaxy with talk of peace. We will burn every human ship we find." More blasts hit them. Jake watched the shield display drop to 30%, then 20. Soon they would have no protection at all. "Lisa, can we jump to warp?" Jake asked desperately. "Negative, Captain. The jump drive is damaged. Even if it wasn't, we need at least 5 minutes to charge it up." Pete's voice crackled through the speakers. "Captain, I'm losing power to the shields." "Whatever you're going to do, do it fast." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. Amy continued sending distress signals even though her console was sparking and smoking. Lisa fought to keep the ship moving despite the damage to the engines. These were good people who did not deserve to die for the crime of flying through space. "Amy, patch me through to the emergency beacon," Jake ordered. "Captain?" "Do it." Amy's hands worked quickly. "You're connected to the long-range emergency transmitter, sir." Jake took a deep breath and spoke clearly into the microphone. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human cargo ship Starlight Runner. 4 Krillian warships have attacked our vessel without warning or provocation. We are a civilian ship carrying medical supplies to New Terra Colony. Repeat, we are under unprovoked attack by Krillian forces. Our position is..." He read off the coordinates from Lisa's navigation display. Another series of blasts struck the ship. This time, Jake heard the sound of metal tearing. The hull was breaking apart. "Captain," Pete called out. "Main power is failing. I can't keep the life support running much longer." Dr. Sam's voice came through the intercom. "Medical Beta Bridge. I've got 7 wounded now. The hull breach in Section 4 is getting bigger." Jake continued his message. "To any human military forces receiving this signal, the Krillians have fired on an unarmed merchant vessel in neutral space. They stated their intention to destroy all human ships they encounter. They call us weak and claim we have no right to travel in this area." The ship's lights flickered and went out for a moment before emergency power kicked in. The red glow of the emergency lighting made everything look like a nightmare. "Amy, did the message get out?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. The emergency beacon is transmitting on all military frequencies. If there are any human ships within 50 light years, they'll hear it." "Good." Jake felt strangely calm now. "Lisa, take us toward the nearest Krillian ship." "Captain? If we're going to die, let's at least make them remember us." Lisa nodded grimly and turned the ship toward the largest of the attacking vessels. The Starlight Runner limped forward, her engine sputtering and her hull trailing debris. The Krillian ships continued firing. Jake could see the alien vessel growing larger in the window as they approached. It was a massive warship, probably carrying hundreds of warriors. Its hull was painted with symbols that looked like threats and warnings. "Chris, are you still alive down there?" Jake called on the intercom. "Still here, Captain, though the kitchen is a complete mess." "Good, everyone listen to me." Jake's voice carried throughout the ship. "We're going to die today, but we're going to die as humans. We came out here to help people, to build something better. Don't let these aliens take that away from us." Dr. Sam's voice came through the speakers. "Captain, the wounded are asking what they should do. Tell them to be proud. Tell them their families will know they died doing good work." The ship shook again, but less violently this time. Jake realized the Krillians were probably trying to disable them now, instead of destroying them outright. Maybe they wanted prisoners, or maybe they just wanted to make the death slower. "Captain," Amy said quietly, "I'm getting a response to our distress signal." Jake's heart jumped. "From who?" "It's Admiral Phillips at Luna Station. She says help is coming." "How far away?" Amy checked her display. "Luna Station is 6 hours away at best, sir." Jake looked at the tactical screen. The Starlight Runner's shields were almost gone and fires burned throughout the ship. They did not have 6 hours. They probably did not have 6 minutes. "Send a reply," Jake said. "Tell the Admiral that the Krillians attacked without warning. Tell her they said they plan to destroy every human ship they find. Tell her..." He paused, thinking of what else might be important. "Tell her we tried to surrender, but they said there is no surrender for the weak." "Sending now, Captain." Pete's voice came through the intercom one last time. "Captain, I can't hold the reactor together much longer. She's gonna blow in maybe 2 minutes." Jake nodded to himself. "At least it would be quick. All hands, this is the captain. It has been an honor serving with all of you. Amy, keep transmitting our position until the end." The largest Krillian ship filled their view now. Jake could see details on its hull, weapon turrets tracking their approach, and what looked like observation windows where alien faces might be watching. "Captain," Lisa said softly, "thank you for giving us a chance to do something that mattered." Jake reached over and squeezed her shoulder. "Thank you for being the best crew a captain could ask for." The reactor warning alarm began blaring throughout the ship. Pete had been right about the timing. Through the window, Jake saw the Krillian ship's main guns turning toward them for what would be the final shot. He wondered if anyone back on Earth would ever know what had happened here, or if the Starlight Runner would just disappear without a trace like so many ships before her. Then the reactor exploded, and everything went white. Admiral Kate Phillips was drinking coffee in her office at Luna Station when the emergency signal came through. She had been reading reports from the outer colonies, the usual stuff about supply requests and shipping schedules. Then her communication officer burst through the door without knocking. "Admiral, we have a priority distress signal from the Kepler sector," Lieutenant Commander Bob Harris said, his face pale. "It's from the cargo ship Starlight Runner." Kate set down her coffee cup. "What's their problem? Engine failure?" "No, ma'am. They're under attack." Kate was on her feet immediately. Pirates? Krillian warships, Admiral. 4 of them. The message says they attacked without warning or provocation. Kate felt her blood go cold. The Krillians were known as aggressive, but they had never directly attacked human ships before. There had been tense meetings at trade stations, some harsh words exchanged, but never open warfare. "Get me General Harper immediately," Kate ordered, "and patch that distress signal through to my desk." Lieutenant Commander Harris nodded and left quickly. Kate moved to her communication console and listened to the recording of Captain Morrison's final message. His voice was calm and professional, even as his ship was being destroyed around him. The office door opened again, and General Roy Harper walked in. He was the commander of the Third Fleet, a tough man who had fought in the Centauri border war 20 years ago. His face was grim as he took a seat across from Kate's desk. "I heard the basic details on my way over," Roy said. "How bad is it?" Kate played the recording for him. They both listened in silence as Captain Morrison described the unprovoked attack and the Krillian threats to destroy all human ships. "Damn," Roy said quietly when the recording ended. "That poor crew." "Roy, this is an act of war," Kate said. "They attacked a civilian vessel in neutral space. That violates about 17 different interstellar treaties." "I know. The question is, what do we do about it?" Kate was already reaching for her secure communication link to Earth. "We follow the Colonial Protection Act. Any unprovoked attack on human civilians requires immediate military response." The link connected and President Alex Chen's face appeared on the screen. He was in his office in Geneva, and it was early morning there. He looked tired, but his expression sharpened when he saw the serious looks on Kate and Roy's faces. "Admiral Phillips, General Harper, what's the situation?" Kate gave him a quick summary of the attack and played portions of the distress signal. The president listened without interrupting, his face growing darker with each detail. "How many people were on that ship?" President Chen asked. 12 crew members, sir," Kate replied. "All civilians. They were carrying medical supplies to New Terra Colony. And the Krillians destroyed them simply because they could?" "According to the recording, yes, sir. They said humans were weak and had no place in that area of space." President Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke in a voice Kate had rarely heard from him, cold and hard. "Admiral Phillips, you are authorized to take whatever action you deem necessary to respond to this attack. The full resources of the Human Defense Force are at your disposal." "Thank you, Mr. President. Make sure those alien bastards understand that attacking human civilians was the worst mistake they ever made." The connection ended. Kate turned to Roy, who was already pulling up fleet positions on his tablet. "How many ships can we mobilize?" Kate asked. "The Third Fleet has 47 ships ready for immediate deployment," Roy said, "including the Earth's Fury." Kate nodded. The Earth's Fury was the newest dreadnought in the human fleet, commanded by Captain Maria Santos. It carried enough firepower to level a small moon. "What about intelligence on Krillian forces?" Kate asked. "Let me get Commander Foster in here. He knows more about alien military capabilities than anyone." A few minutes later, Commander Dan Foster arrived carrying a thick folder of files. He was a thin man who spent most of his time studying reports from human intelligence agents throughout the galaxy. "Admiral, I heard about the attack," Dan said as he sat down. "I pulled everything we have on Krillian military forces." "What are we looking at?" Kate asked. Dan opened his folder. "The Krillians control 3 star systems with a total population of about 2 billion. Their military philosophy is based on overwhelming aggression and quick strikes against weak opponents." "How many ships do they have?" Best estimates put their total fleet at around 200 warships of various sizes. Most are older designs, but they're heavily armed. They prefer close-range combat and boarding actions. Roy leaned forward. "What about their tactics?" "They rely on fear and intimidation. They've built their reputation by attacking smaller, weaker fleets and colonies. They've never faced a major military power in open warfare." Kate studied the files Dan had brought. Pictures showed Krillian ships that looked dangerous but outdated. The aliens favored brute force over advanced technology. Dan, what do we know about their psychology? Kate asked. They're a warrior culture that respects only strength. They view mercy as weakness and diplomacy as cowardice. The attack on the Starlight Runner fits their pattern perfectly. They probably expected the ship to be carrying weapons or escort ships. But when they found out it was just a cargo vessel, they would have seen that as proof that humans are weak. In their minds, destroying that ship was like stepping on an insect. Kate felt anger burning in her chest. 12 good people had died because some alien warriors wanted to prove how tough they were. Roy, how long to get the Third Fleet ready for deployment? Kate asked. 6 hours, Admiral. We can be at the attack coordinates in 18 hours after that. Do it. Dan, I want everything we have on Krillian ship movements and base locations. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. Yes, ma'am. As the two men left to carry out their orders, Kate walked to the window of her office. Outside, she could see Earth hanging in space, blue and beautiful and peaceful. Millions of people down there were going about their normal lives, not knowing that their fellow humans had just been murdered by alien warriors. She thought about Captain Morrison and his crew. They had been out there trying to help a colony world, carrying medicine and food to people who needed it. They had died because they chose to be peaceful, not because they were weak. The Krillians were about to learn the difference. Kate picked up her communication device and opened a channel to all ship commanders in the Third Fleet. This is Admiral Phillips. As of this moment, the Human Defense Force is at war with the Krillian Empire. They have attacked and destroyed a civilian cargo vessel without provocation. 12 human lives have been lost. She paused, looking out at the stars where the Starlight Runner had died. We are going to find the ships responsible for this attack. We are going to find their fleet. And we are going to show them what happens when you mistake human mercy for human weakness. All ship commanders report to the briefing room in 1 hour. Phillips out. Kate turned away from the window and began preparing for war. War Commander Thexvol stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Blood Drinker, and watched the human ship burn. The explosion had been beautiful, a bright flash that lit up the darkness of space. His crew cheered and roared with approval. That was too easy, said Sub-Commander Kreltak from the weapons station. The humans did not even try to fight back. Thexvol nodded with satisfaction. Weak race. They talk of peace and trading, but they have no spine for battle. This proves what I have always said about them. The other 3 ships in his raider group moved closer to the debris field, where the human vessel had exploded. There was nothing left worth salvaging, just twisted metal and frozen cargo containers. Commander, the sensor officer called out. I am detecting some of their cargo floating free, medical supplies and food containers. Leave it, Thexvol said with a wave of his hand. We have no use for the soft things that weak races need. Thexvol had been raiding this area of space for 2 years, hitting small trading ships and minor colonies. The humans had trading routes here, but their ships were always lightly armed and easy to destroy. This had been his 15th human ship, and like all the others, it had died quickly. Set course for the Vorthan border, Thexvol ordered. We will hunt for more prey there. His ship turned away from the debris field, followed by the other 3 raider vessels. None of them bothered to scan for escape pods or survivors. In Krillian culture, showing mercy to defeated enemies was a sign of weakness. For the next 18 hours, Thexvol's raiders continued their patrol of the border regions. They found nothing worth attacking, just empty space and distant stars. The war commander was getting bored when his sensor officer suddenly called out in alarm. Commander, multiple ships dropping out of warp space. Thexvol looked at the main screen and felt his confidence waver for the first time in years. Ships were appearing all around them, dozens of vessels that were clearly military. Their hulls were dark gray and covered with weapon systems. How many? Thexvol demanded. 47 ships, sir. All human design. Thexvol stared at the tactical display in disbelief. He had never seen so many human warships in one place. In fact, he had never seen any human warships at all. The few military ships he had encountered before were small patrol vessels that ran away rather than fight. These ships were different. They moved with precision and purpose, forming a perfect battle formation around his raiders. The largest one was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Blood Drinker. Communications from the human fleet. Sir, the radio operator reported. Put it through. A woman's voice filled the bridge, speaking in clear, cold tones. Krillian vessels, this is Admiral Kate Phillips of the Human Defense Force. You are suspected of attacking and destroying the civilian cargo ship Starlight Runner. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." Thexval laughed loudly. "Human female thinks she can threaten me. Tell her that War Commander Thexval does not surrender to weaklings." The radio operator sent the message. The response came back immediately. "War Commander Thexval, you destroyed an unarmed ship carrying medical supplies to a colony world. You murdered 12 innocent civilians. This is your final warning. Surrender now." Thexval's anger flared. How dare these soft humans demand anything from him? He was a warrior of the Krillian Empire, feared throughout this sector of space. "Battle stations," he roared. "Show these humans what real warriors look like." The Blood Drinker and its 3 companion ships charged toward the human fleet, their weapons powering up for combat. Thexval had fought many battles and destroyed many enemies. He was confident that Krillian courage would overcome human numbers. He was wrong. The human ships opened fire with a precision that shocked Thexval. Energy beams and projectile weapons struck his raiders with devastating accuracy. The ship next to his, the Iron Claw, exploded in the first volley, torn apart by concentrated fire from multiple human vessels. "Shields failing," his tactical officer shouted. "They're targeting our weapon systems." Thexval watched in growing horror as the human fleet demonstrated military tactics he had never seen before. They did not charge in for close combat like Krillian warriors. Instead, they maintained perfect formations while their weapons tore his ships apart from long range. "Return fire," Thexval ordered desperately. His weapons officer tried, but the human ships were moving too fast and coordinating too well. Every time a Krillian ship tried to target one enemy vessel, 3 others would attack it from different angles. The Blood Drinker shuddered under multiple impacts. Thexval was thrown to the deck as his ship's armor was stripped away by human weapons. Around him, his crew worked frantically at damaged stations while alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Sir, the Bone Crusher is breaking apart," someone called out. Through the smoke filling his bridge, Thexval could see his second ship dying. Human fighters had swarmed over it, small fast ships that moved like angry insects. Their weapons might be smaller, but they found every weak spot in the Krillian armor. "Damage report," Thexval shouted. "Main weapons offline. Engines at 30%. Hull breaches on 7 decks. The 4th and final ship in his raider group, the Skull Splitter, tried to escape the battle. Thexval watched it accelerate away from the human fleet, hoping to reach warp speed before the enemy could stop it. The largest human ship, the massive dreadnought, turned its main guns toward the fleeing raider. When it fired, the energy beam was so powerful that it vaporized the Skull Splitter instantly. Nothing remained but glowing particles. "Impossible," Thexval whispered. His own ship was dying around him. The humans had systematically destroyed every weapon system, every engine, every piece of equipment that might allow the Blood Drinker to fight or flee. They had done it with surgical precision, not wasting a single shot. "War Commander," his communications officer said weakly, "the humans are demanding our surrender again." Thexval looked around his ruined bridge. Half his crew was dead or wounded. His ship was helpless, drifting in space like a piece of wreckage. In less than 2 hours, the mighty raider group that had terrorized this sector had been completely destroyed. "Tell them," Thexval began, then stopped. In his culture, surrender was the ultimate shame. But death was final, and he was beginning to understand that he had seriously underestimated these humans. "Tell them we surrender," he said quietly. Admiral Philip's voice came through the speakers again. "War Commander Thexval, you will be taken into custody and charged with the murder of innocent civilians. Your crew will be treated according to interstellar law, which is more mercy than you showed the people on the Starlight Runner." Human ships moved closer to the Blood Drinker, their weapons still trained on the crippled raider. Thexval realized that the humans could have destroyed his ship completely, but they had chosen to disable it instead. They wanted prisoners, not just bodies. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "their troop transports are approaching. They're going to board us." Thexval nodded numbly. He had been a warrior his entire life, had destroyed dozens of enemy ships, had built a reputation for ruthless efficiency, and now he was defeated by a race he had thought was weak. As the human marines cut through his ship's hull to begin the boarding operation, Thexval wondered if perhaps he had been wrong about more than just human military power. Maybe the reason they seemed weak was not because they could not fight, but because they chose not to fight unless they had to. The cargo ship crew had tried to surrender, had begged for mercy, had identified themselves as civilians. Thexval had killed them anyway because he thought it made him strong. Now, as armed humans in powered armor entered his bridge, Thexval realized he might have just made the biggest mistake in Krillian history. Supreme War Chief Korthaval received the news of Thexval's defeat while he was eating his morning meal in the great hall of his fortress on Krillius Prime. The messenger, a young warrior named Grixtal, knelt before the massive throne and delivered his report in a shaking voice. Great War Chief, our raider group in the outer systems has been destroyed. War Commander Thexval has been captured by human forces. Korthval set down his drinking cup with a crash that echoed through the hall. Destroyed by humans? You must be mistaken. No, my lord. The few survivors who escaped in damaged ships have confirmed it. 47 human warships attacked the raiders. The battle lasted only 2 hours. Korthval stood up from his throne, his massive frame towering over the messenger. He was the largest and strongest of all Krillian warriors, with scars covering his arms and chest from 100 battles. No enemy had ever defeated him. 47 ships? Korthval roared. Impossible. The humans have no military. They are traders and farmers. The survivors say otherwise, my lord. They describe ships larger than our own, with weapons more powerful than anything in our fleet. Korthval walked down from his throne platform and grabbed the messenger by the neck. You are telling me that Thexval, one of our finest raiders, was defeated by the soft humans who beg for peace at every meeting? Yes, my lord, Grixtal gasped. Korthval threw the messenger across the room and began pacing back and forth. This made no sense. For years, Krillian raiders had been attacking human ships with ease. The humans always tried to talk instead of fight, always offered to pay rather than resist. They were weak. Summon the fleet commanders, Korthval ordered. All of them, now. Within an hour, the greatest military leaders of the Krillian Empire had gathered in the war room. Fleet Commander Vexmore, who controlled the northern battle groups. Fleet Commander Zarketh, master of the southern fleets. War Master Lokvar, commander of the home defense forces. 20 other leaders, each controlling dozens of warships. You have all heard about Thexval's defeat, Korthval said as he looked around the room. The humans have revealed that they possess a military force we did not know existed. My lord, Fleet Commander Vexmore said carefully. Perhaps this was a lucky strike. One battle does not make them a real threat. 47 ships is not luck. Korthval slammed his fist on the table. That is a coordinated military response. They came to that sector specifically to hunt our raiders. War Master Lokvar leaned forward. What do you propose, Supreme War Chief? We mobilize the entire fleet. Every ship, every warrior. We go to human space and crush them before they can launch more attacks against us. My lord, Fleet Commander Zarketh said hesitantly, our total fleet numbers 230 ships. If the humans could field 47 vessels for one battle, then we destroy them all, Korthval roared. We are Krillian warriors. We do not run from soft aliens who grow food and build hospitals. The fleet commanders nodded and began making plans. Within 6 hours, the largest military force in Krillian history was assembling around their homeworld. Massive battleships, heavy cruisers, and swarms of fighters prepared for what their leaders promised would be the final destruction of human space power. Korthval stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Starkiller, and watched his armada form up for the attack. This was the pride of the Krillian Empire. 2 centuries of military might gathered in one place. No force in the galaxy could stand against them. Set course for human space, he commanded. We will show them what happens when weak races dare to fight their betters. The Krillian fleet entered warp space, carrying over 50,000 warriors toward what they believed would be an easy victory. Korthval spent the journey studying reports about human colonies and trade routes. He planned to destroy every human settlement he could find, to make sure no other alien race would ever dare to challenge Krillian superiority. When they dropped out of warp at the edge of human territory, Korthval expected to find scattered patrol ships and frightened cargo vessels. Instead, his sensor operators reported something that made his blood run cold. Supreme War Chief, we are detecting multiple human fleets approaching our position. How many ships? Korthval demanded. First fleet has 48 vessels, sir. Second fleet shows 51 ships. Third fleet, the operator paused, checking his readings. Third fleet has 57 ships. Korthval stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The humans had more ships than his entire empire. And these were not cargo vessels or patrol boats. These were full-sized military ships, many of them larger than anything in the Krillian fleet. "How is this possible?" he whispered. Admiral Kate Phillips's voice came through the communication system, transmitted across space to every ship in the Krillian Armada. "Supreme War Chief Korthval, this is Admiral Phillips of the Human Defense Force. You have committed acts of war against the human colonies by attacking civilian vessels. We offer you one chance to withdraw your forces and surrender the war criminals responsible for murdering innocent people." Korthval found his voice. "I am Supreme War Chief Korthval. We do not withdraw. We do not surrender. You will all die today." "Very well," Admiral Phillips replied. "You were warned. The human fleets attacked with devastating coordination." Korthval watched in horror as his proud armada was torn apart by weapons and tactics he had never imagined. The humans did not charge forward for glorious close combat. Instead, they used long-range precision strikes that picked apart Krillian formations with surgical accuracy. Captain Maria Santos, commanding the massive dreadnought Earth's Fury, demonstrated the true power of human engineering. Her ship's main guns could destroy a Krillian cruiser with a single shot. Admiral Richard Stone's First Fleet moved like a perfectly choreographed dance, each ship supporting the others in ways that maximized their firepower. Admiral Nancy Clark's Second Fleet specialized in electronic warfare, jamming Krillian communications and sensor systems until the alien ships were fighting blind. Colonel Frank Williams led Marine boarding parties that captured enemy vessels, taking prisoners instead of simply destroying everything. But it was the human fighters that truly shocked Korthval. Led by Commander Tony Miller, hundreds of small, fast ships swarmed through the Krillian formations like angry bees. They were too quick to target effectively, and their precision weapons found every weak point in Krillian armor. "Sir, we have lost 60% of our fleet," his tactical officer reported. Korthval looked around his bridge. Half his crew was dead or wounded, and his ship was listing to one side from multiple hits. Around them, the pride of the Krillian military was being systematically destroyed by human forces that fought with a level of skill and coordination he had never seen. "Impossible," he said for the third time that day. "We are the greatest warriors in the galaxy." Captain Ben Carter's stealth destroyers appeared behind the Krillian command ships, having somehow penetrated their formations without being detected. Their surprise attack eliminated the remaining fleet commanders and left the alien forces without central leadership. "Supreme War Chief," his communications officer called out weakly, "the humans are demanding our surrender again." Korthval watched the tactical display show the destruction of his civilization's military power. In less than 6 hours, the Krillian Empire had gone from the dominant force in this sector to a broken, defeated remnant. "Sir, what are your orders?" Korthval thought about his people, about the billions of Krillians living on the worlds below. Without their fleet, they were defenseless. The humans could destroy every city, every settlement, every trace of Krillian civilization, but they were not doing that. Even now, human medical ships were moving to assist damaged Krillian vessels. They were taking prisoners instead of killing survivors. They were showing mercy to enemies who had shown them none. "Open a channel to the human admiral," Korthval said quietly. Admiral Phillips appeared on his screen, her face grim but not cruel. "Supreme War Chief Korthval." "Admiral Phillips," Korthval said, the words tasting like ashes in his mouth. "The Krillian Empire surrenders. Very well. You will be taken into custody and charged with war crimes. Your forces will lay down their weapons and submit to human authority. What will happen to my people?" Korthval asked. "That depends on how quickly you help us find every raider group and pirate band that operates under Krillian authority. The killing of innocent civilians stops now." As human Marines boarded his flagship, Korthval realized the terrible truth. The humans were not weak because they lacked the ability to fight. They were strong enough to choose when to fight and when to show mercy. They had built their civilization on principles of peace and cooperation. But when those principles were threatened, they could become more dangerous than any warrior race. The Krillian Empire had learned too late that humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or their ships. It was their choice to use violence only when all other options had failed, and their ability to stop fighting once their enemies were defeated. The galaxy would remember this lesson for a long time to come.